Hi, sweet angels. Welcome, welcome, welcome to another episode of the Edible Spirit Hour. We've been typically starting the show with with the theme song, the Edible Spirit Hour, but we were listening to this awesome group from Croatia, Klapa Tragos, and we just thought we would share that with you. So, without further ado, welcome, welcome, welcome to another installment of the Edible Spirit Hour. We are Edible Spirit, hosting for you. This is a combination of Michael Dimitrovich and the Edible Spirit Collective, which is all of the spirits and guides and ancestors and non-physical entities that comprise this healing collective that it is Edible Spirit. But it is also you, because you're here when you're watching. And whether you're watching when we air live every Sunday at 8 p.m. Eastern here on YouTube, or if you're watching at some other point during the week, welcome. You are very welcome here. This space is here for you. Just turning off the notification. We are here for you. So with that said, if you want a reading at any point, we're going to come to that segment a little bit later. We call it 1-900-DELISH, where we take calls from you guys. But if you want a reading or if you want to ask a question, we don't have phone lines set up yet, but you can Zoom in. So keep watching on YouTube. But if you know you want a reading or you want to ask our amazing guest, Nico LaLiberté, a question, you got to join through Zoom, and you can do that via EdibleSpirit.com, the links that are in the sidebar, or on Instagram at EdibleSpirit, where there's links to join the Zoom room if you want a reading. And we'll basically call you in about a half an hour when we get to that point of the show. But we love to begin this show every week with what we call the F Me Update, the Fuck Me Update. I mean, what's going on, right? We're going to talk about trauma today with Nico. And we've been experiencing a lot of trauma releases, a lot of deep breaths, a lot of intensity, a lot of like, just noticing that our body has been exhausted, ever since, thanks to the last 5 days. But in the F Me Update, we like to share with you a little bit of astrology about this moment, whatever's going on in this moment, and a little bit of food, because this is the Edible Spirit Hour, where we mix the best of that, which is divinely mystical and deliciously edible, divinely spiritual and deliciously edible. So yeah, just by way of the astrological side of this F Me Update, Mercury stationed direct on November 3rd. It's retracing its steps on election day, retracing its steps back through Libra, and then it finishes its retrograde cycle completely. It gets to the same place where it was in Scorpio when it started going backwards on November 19th, okay? We'll experience a lot more mental clarity then, but the mental cognitive dissonance, things breaking, drain clogged here, computer bullshit, tire lights going on, all that Mercury inflected stuff, it wants to be working itself out now. Also the Scorpio side of it, what fears have you faced, right? And how have you processed Mercury and Libra, how to think about those fears, right? How to process fears or darkness or shadow or things having to do with power, right? Confronting power, Mercury in Scorpio. The Mercury in Libra moment helps us to sort of make sense of things. Justice also happens when Mercury is in Libra, right? Mental justice, or we think in a more balanced way. But there's not a lot we can do, right? And also it's like not over. That was what we mainly wanted to share. Mercury stationing direct tends to have something that gets kind of vomited out that's true. And we talked about this both last week and during the Foodie Scopes, which are up on IGTV and will be up again. The new moon Foodie Scopes will be up again in about a week. But we were talking about how Mercury stationing direct tends to vomit something true out, or something unexpected or unpredictable happens, right? And the truth comes out is the vibe, right? Mercury stationing direct, truth comes out. So some truth has emerged without making partisan statements here, right? Don't have to do that. This space, I mean, we will. It's not that we can't or we won't, but it's not the most important thing right now to be making more partisan statements, okay? Libra, as the scales, is also the balancing stuff. So it's like you face your fears, Mercury retrograde in Scorpio, think about them a lot, and then Mercury in Libra helps us to process them, weigh them, and begin to approach some sense of what to do with them, or about them. But the problem is Mars is still retrograde until November 13th. So the mojo that we need to get things done, to take care of business, it's not here yet. Right? You would have to dig and scrape for it. Or the theory would be that after November 13th, when Mars goes direct, more energy, more vitality, just a cleaner line of what do I want and how am I going to go get it? That's the Mars direct on November 13th. Yes, save that date. Very exciting. But additionally, on the 12th, this is the last thing we're sharing with you, is a big conjunction, the third and final conjunction of Jupiter and Pluto, right? Jupiter and Pluto and Saturn have been kind of dancing around each other for this whole year in the planet of Capricorn. We talk about this ad infinitum. Basically, Pluto and Capricorn we're reading as the sort of destructive yet powerful yet evolutionary force that is destroying and evolving Capricorn, sign of the government, sign of the patriarchy, sign of the grandfather, sign of the dinosaur, right? And then Pluto brings this tower energy, the tower from the tarot, of destroying things and freeing their power, freeing their light so that they can be reborn, transformed anew and fresh. Jupiter is like, the Hulkamania or, the Incredible Hulk of the Zodiac. It puts everything in an amplified state. It expands, it blasts out. Jupiter is also connected to Sagittarius, right? The sign that goes beyond everything. Nico, who's coming on in a little while, is a Sagittarius. So if you ever wondered what a Sagittarius is like, get ready, you're going to find out. P.S. She's got a Sagittarius moon, Mikey, here. Sagittarius moon, emotional, fireworks, honey. Meanwhile, so Jupiter-Pluto is either going to, or both and, but Jupiter coming together with Pluto, it like amplifies death and rebirth, power struggles, shadow processing, underworld material work. Not shocking, right? Clearly that's what's going on. But there's also this vibe where if you are locked into a higher vibration, a more loving vibration, right? Higher and lower is not the case, right? How loving is it, right? A very highly loving vibration. If you're locked into that, Jupiter conjunct Pluto on the 12th can bring in this energy that sort of blasts everything else away and makes you ride the wave of your high frequency evolution, right? Wherever you're at, it sort of amplifies that transformational energy that we've all been experiencing. So work with this astrology, right? Take it easy. Keep processing. Be rigorous mentally, because Mercury is direct now and is helping us to think clearly until the 13th, when Mars goes direct and helps us to act clearly and cleanly and with a quick through line. And then right before that happens on the 12th, we get this big blast of whatever it is. Now, just to whatever that might be for you, however you've been transforming with Jupiter, amplifying it and blasting it out, that's what sort of comes around on the 12th. So work with the astrology, get your mind right, prepare to take action, but really take care of your body, take care of your loved ones. It's like we're also going deeper into the fall, right? Things are getting colder if you're further up north. So it's like there's a sense almost of like preparation for whatever's next. So get your mind in line. Oh, that's what we wanted to say to you. The polarization doesn't help, right? Get your mind in line so that you step into a vibration where your heart is able to be open and inclusive of other people and their bandwidths and their thought processes, right? We are not different. We are not actually different, right? A lot, even in some of the speeches, right? It's not red, it's not blue, it's all America. It's like, yeah, but it's also not even fucking America. It's like all humanity, and it's also not even fucking humanity. It's all spirit. It's all energy. It's all vibration. So check your vibe and let Jupiter, and raise your vibe. Make sure your vibe is as high as possible, and then let Jupiter expand your vibe so that with the clear mind of Mercury direct, with intentions, thanks to Mercury direct, of how you're going to move forward when Mars goes direct, open your heart, take some loving actions, and then Jupiter Pluto comes along, your heart's open, your mind is clear, you're headed to where you're headed. Let the path be simple. It doesn't have to be fucking complicated. Pare down, pare down, pare down. Let it be simple, because whatever you're doing on the 12th is going to get that big old amplification. That was the other thing we we're going to say that kind of got us trailed off, is that there have been correlations between this Jupiter-Pluto conjunction and coronavirus. I think it was like April, June, and then now November has been this Jupiter-Pluto conjunction. So like, you know, that's the thing about Jupiter, is that it can either accelerate change benevolently, or if it's fucking chaotic or something like a virus that's out there, it can amplify that and sort of blast it out. So remember, we are vibration, we are energy. We have bodies and feelings and hearts and minds and pathogens, you know, bloodstreams, immune systems as well, but we're also energy. So while you're protecting your body, while you're caring for your heart and emotions, while you are doing what you can with your mind, right, to get clear and follow all these approaches, check your vibe, right? Are you inclusive or exclusive? It's a good place to start. Let's see. We're going to share two things with you. Let's just share the one. Okay, we're going to share this with you just because the lighting's terrible, and I think we're in our underwear, but we still are sharing it with you. So this is how we've been making our coffee in the morning. This is stovetop espresso maker with, I fucked up the water, and we have hard water, so it looks weird. Cardamom pods, 4 of them, crumpled with the seeds crushed and placed on the bottom, half filled with coffee, couple jobs of cinnamon, and then topped off with coffee, and that's my hat. So just to show you that one more time. The water part's not as exciting, but the cardamom pods are where it's at, and you almost can't taste the cardamom without the little extra sweetness of the cinnamon. So just like 2 little shakes, promise you, this is dark as night. It doesn't taste like, you know, French vanilla, Dunkin' Donuts, or pumpkin spice, but it's good. It's good. It's good. Okay, well, that was the F Me update. Let me just check in on you guys in YouTube. Oh, bloop! We got a Flaxy, we got a Rev Fam. Thank you all for showing up here today. Love you so much. Let's see. We're going to bring in our most beloved and blessed guest. Very excited to have this angel of light with us today. We're calling in Nico. Okay, here she comes. Hi, Peanut. Welcome to the EdibleSpirit Hour.
Thank you. It's so nice to be here.
Oh yeah, it's nice to be here. It's nice to share this moment and to be here. Do you know what I realized as I was preparing to do this tonight? This just so happened. We've had 8 episodes of this show now. It's been running for 2 months. We did a couple moon zooms before then.
I noticed.
Did you see? It's episode 108.
Yes! 108. I noticed that. I said, perfect.
So auspicious.
Very auspicious.
it's one of the things, I mean, I want to ask you the question that we ask all of our guests, but I just want to let everyone who's watching know that, you know, everything that is good and wholesome and healing in my life has come from this person, from Nico. So I'm horribly biased towards her and all of the magic that she has to offer. But I'll never forget. It's literally like yoga, Chinese medicine, meditation, Zen, shiatsu, massage, Vedanta, Buddhism. Like, you've schooled me so much in all of these different areas, and it's really exciting. And the reason why I'm going down this tangent is because I'm remembering taking my first Anusara yoga class with you ever at an incredible teacher, Ellen Saltonstall's, in
Yes.
amazing Chelsea place. And it's just like, I really wanted to have you on today because you do so many things. You are such a Sagittarius. You have so many varied and wild and wonderful interests. But during Corona and during this wild time on Earth, and even over the last couple of years, you shifted into really taking all your gifts and focusing them and offering these incredibly powerful and transformative healing sessions to people through your organization, which is called Nico Sutra, right? So what we always ask people first on this is the question, how are you healing? And normally I want to know like what you're doing to take care of yourself, but I actually want to focus it today to say, how are you healing? Tell us about what you do with Nico Sutra. I know it's trauma related. I know it's somatic related. I know there's a bunch of cool things that I want to talk about, but how do you describe it? Worked with you before, you know, how do you tell them what they're getting if they come to work with you?
Okay, well, usually I say this. I'm working within two modalities. I'm working with somatic therapy and also another therapy called Psychoneuroenergetics. And they're separate, but they've married well. Mm-hmm. And so usually in a session, we'll first do the somatic work and then segue into the psychoneuroenergetic.
Got it.
You look like you had a question.
Well, no, it's just very cool. So I know we actually did a live stream a little while ago with someone who was studying with so Peter Levine is the guy that does the somatic work, right? The somatic therapy.
Yeah, he's the creator of that. Yeah.
And so I haven't had a session with you with this work yet, but I've sent so many people your way that have said nothing but the best stuff about it. And I always send people to you when I get this sense that there's a presence in them that is ready to do whatever it is that it came here to do, some kind of purpose fulfillment or dharmic work or something. That you can feel that they're here and they're ready. And yet there's this layer of fear or trauma or restriction or tension or something. And it feels in my body like ding, 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 ding. I'm like, oh my God, there's trauma here. I'm doing a 30 or 60-minute session with this person right now. We have a lot of other things to talk about. I don't know that I can get to the bottom of this while talking, you know, so then I send them to you. So talk to me about trauma and talk to me also about the you don't have to talk so much about it part.
Yeah. There can be lots of talking, but it you know, trauma is trapped energy in the body. Mm-hmm. And, you know, it can happen from an event, you know, you're not able to complete an action, like you're driving and there's an accident and you don't get to complete driving down the road. Mm-hmm. Right. So that's a specific kind of trauma. Then with, you know, more psychological, emotional trauma, you know, you're not able to express something emotionally at the time, or you know, speak your truth in that moment. And that happens a lot when we're children and we're just absorbing our parents and our environment. And during that absorption, you know, we come to believe things about ourselves which are not true. And we do this and we forget that we do it. Completely. And so we, you know, the work basically goes back and unwinds through the nervous system. This work works with the nervous system, and we work with balancing the vagus nerve. The vagus nerve is out of balance. You feel it? Yeah, the vagus nerve is out of balance. You can go too much into sympathetic, or you can go into shutdown, like boom.
Right.
You know, nothing's getting through there. So we work on, if you're in a shutdown, starting to get a little bit emotion in there. If you're in sympathetic, getting that back to homeostasis.
So
I feel like that,
so it almost brings you into a 0 point, kind of, right? It that's very cool. And
0 point with motion.
With motion,
Always
right?
motion.
The point's there, but it's always moving. And just two things that it made me think of. I've worked with so many clients where I want to say to them, I'm like, if I were to read into it a little more deeply, maybe I would be able to come up with it. But I'll say to them, I feel like you were about to say something and someone fucking hit you in the mouth right when you were about to say this thing. And then this person ends up walking around with like half a voice and 40% of their words restrained, because at one point when they were a kid or a teenager or something, they were like, la la, and
boom. Yeah.
So that's the kind of thing.
And in that moment, the belief is formed. And then you adapt. So you move away from center and you adapt. And in that adaptation, your identity forms around an adapted state. Right. So the work starts to unwind you from that adapted state. There's a recognition and a completion of what was not completed at the time. And through the completion, you come home. Yep. And you come home again and again. And, you know, some people call this like a soul retrieval, but it's really just piece by piece. You're working these pieces out, tying them, and you become more and more and more present. Well, and you get to everything becomes easier to, you know, the social engagement turns on, the nervous system can self-regulate, and, you know.
And that's what I think I was getting at with you don't have to talk about it part of it. It's something I've learned from just talking to you about this and talking to, you know, people that you've studied with and worked with too, that it's like in order to complete an unexpressed thing or to clear this experience or to untangle these knots, you may have to talk about it to get to that place. But that ultimately the body wants to release this adaptive behavior if it's not in the best interest of this overall homeostasis. It's just, if we don't know that it needs to be released or don't have a way to release it, or our system is so adrenalized or shut down that we don't even begin to approach that stuff, we just become this assemblage of adaptive behaviors. And that leads to this kind of, you know, paralysis. And yet what I've experienced in the work that I have done with the somatic work is that then you touch it, you barely touch it, and the energy just wants to release. You want to let go of these things. You don't actually want to carry around these knots or these beliefs if they're not fucking true, you know? Like,
yes. And the body already knows how to do this. We were born knowing how to release trauma, and it got shut down and forgotten long ago. So it's just kind of realigning with what your body already knows. So once you kind of, you know, move into that space, the body can release in all sorts of interesting ways. And animals always do this. You know, you see the cheetah catching the impala, and puts the impala down, and it shakes it off and runs.
Right.
You know, and that trauma release, the ability for that animal also to play dead. You know, that's a dorsal vagal collapse that we're also capable of. Yeah.
Wow. And that's because that's just another way of dealing with this traumatic event or this traumatic experience. But so this happens, I would imagine, with people who have been, physically abused or sexually abused, that a lot of us have heard of that feeling of like dissociating and watching this terrible thing happen to you. But it's interesting. I never thought about that. Maybe that kind of dissociation occurs because the rest of your system has gone into this sort of paralysis. And so it's the kind of work that you do would probably be very beneficial for someone who's still watching themselves from the vantage point that they left their body, to go, is it okay to go in? Is it? And then correct me if I'm wrong, the psychoneuroenergetic stuff that you're talking about is like, okay, I want to come in. You can't come in. You can't come in. And we can dismantle. Oh.
Yes.
Right?
Yes.
Kind of.
Yes. That's how the vagus nerve assists that whole process. Yeah.
That's what I wanted to go next.
But many times in sessions, people are recognizing, that they're not in their body, and that begins a dialogue. Anyways, yeah.
I just think it's so wild because I'm recalling that many years ago, you gave me my first like hardcore shiatsu session, and you intuited that I wouldn't be able to fully relax without something for my mind to chew on. And so you put on an amazing teacher, Adya Shanti, who like doesn't fucking shut up. Like she's talking about the truth. Just like da 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 da. I was like, oh. So I think it's interesting that I just want to be clear about that there is talking in this. There's a lot of processing and a tremendous amount of inquiry and holding space for all this stuff. But in the end, you don't need.
There is a lot of. Yeah, and also, you don't necessarily have to talk specifically about what it is that happened, because what we're doing is we're working with sensation, right? So we're following sensation, we're tracking sensation in the body. And, a lot of the time when people have a pain, they're focusing on, well, my neck on this left side, it hurts. Well, what about the right side? And we start moving. You start moving that energy just through your awareness, nothing more. And the ability to create just a little bit of space so that you can kind of start watching it happening instead of it being so meshed.
Right. And
it's the same thing. It's the same thing with unwinding events with a parent. We're uncoupling. Uncoupling those relationships so that you can exist in your original energy, right? I
was reading a book by this guy Tom Kenyon, who does a lot of channeled stuff of Mary Magdalene and the Hathors and different civilizations and whatever. He's a channel, but beautiful singing voice and all this stuff. And he was channeling this stuff from the Hathors, and they were basically just saying, hey, like, don't worry about it. Just shift your awareness into your prana tube. Just go back into your prana tube. Just wherever you are, just forget your arms and legs and all this. Like, your prana tube, honey. Just go into the prana tube. So I love this idea of that you're using your awareness, and that in doing so in such an empowered way, or with guidance, right, with someone that's helping you through a session like this, you in a way are affirming that your energy, your consciousness is primary. Right? And that you can use your awareness to treat any of these things, physical, emotional, mental, whatever, even spiritual maladies, right? Super powerful. So one other thing I want to say just before I forget it was, as I was watching, I think just the way you were describing the work that you do, I think that this last 4 years, definitely the last 7 months or so, has been traumatizing for me and for a lot of people, because I realized as I was watching Biden speak, last night, it was like I could feel myself coming more fully into my body, because as a queer person, as a trans-identified person, as a mystical person, as like a a lot of things person, no matter how much I tried to tell myself I was safe in my country, and no matter how much I'm always checking my privilege, there was still this reality in my cells of going, do you need to run? Do you need to leave? Is someone going to come for you? Is someone going to try to kill you? Is someone going to take your rights away? So that would be, I would just say to everyone, like, think about this, check in on this, because chances are we've all internalized some kind of trauma over the last 4 years, because some really horrible things have happened. Like, for instance, the kids in the camps, in the cages with the metal blankets, like that, I would imagine that's an unexpressed trauma, because I didn't know what to do with that energy. What do I do with that energy of seeing them and being like,
right. Yeah. The grip.
The grip is what it felt like.
So like this grip. Yeah. Yeah. And a lot of the time it's just stopping and becoming aware, oh, I'm gripping.
Mm-hmm. Well, I wanted to say this.
Start to work on those edges. Yeah.
Well, yes, and that's what I wanted to really emphasize, is that the work this work that you do through Nico Sutra, that combines the psychoneuroenergetics and the somatic therapies. It doesn't feel woo-woo. It feels very grounded, but it can get to be very multidimensional, because it can feel a little time travel-y. And yet, what I just have to say to anybody who's watching this is, I have never experienced so grounded and physical a reintegration in my own experience. I've never felt so like done after a session, and it took probably 5 or 6 days after the first time I worked in these modalities. But then I was like, whoa, am I different forever? I feel different forever. And it was more so a feeling of like, I cleared a big bunch of weight. And now it's like, ooh, I could get into this stuff, but I don't even really have to. Like, I could just keep going and fulfilling my purpose and doing what I came here to do,
Yes. And then when you want another little whoop, go for it. Yeah.
Well, I think that's a great thing. It's something you've always really inspired in me, and that we were talking about with the, Mercury retrograde and Scorpio stuff. It's like talking about shadow work. We talked a lot about shadow work with Kiki last week, about what does that actually look like? And, you and I joke about it sometimes. It's like, well, it just means being willing to die, and that could be physically, no tea, no shade, and no, minimizing the grief and processing that so many people are going through right now. I've got a lot of Scorpio in my blood, so I make jokes about death all the time, because it's very much a part of our lives. But it's like, I just think it's in the Edible Spirit practice, we talk about it in terms of self-care, self-love, self-expression. You can work with a healer like Nico if you feel out of balance and you need to come back up to speed. Like you said, if you're shut down and you need to come back up to speed, great, that's awesome work. But if you're well and you want to go a little deeper and find some things that you're like, fuck, I didn't even know I was carrying this. That's in our practice, we talk about that as being connected to self-love, that you need to be fundamentally or basically okay to push yourself past your limit and grow, by choice.
Yes. Yes. And this work is all about getting to, I'm okay, you're okay. Right?
Well, that's really powerful, because, I sometimes wonder if we, I don't know, I just wonder, like, has the United States thrived off of capitalism induced trauma, and for how long? You know, like how long have we all just been like, gotta get there, gotta get there, gotta get there, gotta do it, gotta keep up, or I'm literally gonna be on the street. You know, it's like, that's also at the foundation of our nation, you know. So I just love that you're talking about it, because I kind of want to go in this direction. We'll see how we get there. But non-dualism, right? Like how can we become, you know, more inclusive of others? I know you've studied with some really amazing teachers over the years. I remember, and I don't know, I mean, in my heart today, I wanted to ask you about Alia and your Almas work and studying stuff with the diamond mind and all of that group work that you were doing for so long. And just, you know, I mean, you were like a serious intellectual, spiritual studier, traveler, cosmonaut across the world. So I just wonder, like, is there anything you have from your bag of tricks that can help people? It could be from Alia and Almas, or it could be from anywhere really, but that can help people to see the world and even opposition in the world in an inclusive, integrative way. Like, how would you advise someone to stop seeing separation? May I start drawing your AuraPic too?
Oh yeah, please.
Okay, great.
I'm so excited. I've never had an AuraPic before. And I want to know more about how AuraPics function.
Oh, I'll tell you.
Like, how does that work? How would I advise someone?
Well, I know. Go ahead.
Now finish.
I know that, you know, you've just always been a force in my life that has never quite let me settle for what seems to be. You've always encouraged me to keep going towards what is, not what is apparent, not what seems to be. And sometimes you got to break some eggs in order to get to that omelet of what is. You know, you have to be willing to shed some things or clear some things. It's honestly like, I've known you and loved you for so long. I don't even know what your consciousness has been through in all of the things that you studied and all the places that you've gone to. I just know you. I know your heart. I know your soul. So what I wonder is just, you know, maybe it's a Buddhist teaching. Like, what have you studied? What have you looked at? What have you learned? What can you share that could help someone to look, someone that they can't fucking stand, or someone that's just tried to cut them, right? Tried to steal something from them or hurt them or harm them. What can you offer that could make that person say, I'm okay, you're okay?
Ooh, it's a very good question. Well, the thing that comes to mind right now is, you know, when we want things to be different than what they are, that causes suffering. When we are attached to a certain outcome, when we're averse to another outcome, you know, that's the black and the white and the left, you know, this kind of dualism, right? And I'm reminded of a Buddhist teacher that I saw once, and I was sitting and I felt this gripping, and this was before my mother was in her dying process, and I was gripping. I could feel the gripping in my body, this fear, right? You know, and fear, the acronym for fear, right, is false evidence appearing real, right?
That's awesome.
Right, and so and as you look into like what is the nature of fear, what are the elements of fear? As you start getting inside of that, you see that you start to see that there's actually there's nothing there. It's thought. It's thought that you're having that's affecting you emotionally, and it's shifting your nervous system. right? So you're doing it to yourself, right? You're scaring yourself with your thoughts.
Because you're in a way, you're almost like perceiving a threat where there could eventually be a threat, but until the threat occurs, there's no threat.
Correct, right? So yeah, psychological fear. Psychological fear games that we play with ourselves to remain in a loop that we're comfortable with, that perhaps was born in childhood, that we continue to play, whether it makes us feel good or bad. You know, we might keep in a loop that keeps us
comforting habit.
In a negative space, and it's all habit and it's all comfort, but it's also, you're in that loop because you're trying to complete that which was not completed. And so the work is to go and complete that and get out of that loop, get out of the mental loop, the emotional loop, and the energetic nervous system loop, the pattern of when this happens, I have a reaction. But what I was going to say is that I saw this Buddhist teacher and I said, I'm gripping. I feel this gripping. Can you tell me about the process of letting go? And she sat for a second. She was a abbess at a monastery in Los Angeles. And she said, there is no process, you just let go.
Yeah.
Right? So our minds want to do this whole thing all the time and make it into a thing and make it into a process, and it just keeps it going forever. So there's something to just, in Ramana Maharshi's tradition, there's something called neti, right? Not this, not that. And so you can neti yourself to zero, and that neti can bring you straight into your heart. And then as you're in your heart, it all just comes, and it's not an action. It's not anything you can grasp onto. The gift of all of this is, there's nothing there. So like the gift of all of this is nothing. You get nothing. And
there's nothing more Nico than that statement.
The gift of all of this is you get absolutely nothing.
Oh, how light is that?
And what a relief.
There was remember we were doing that acting work a while ago. Ooh, fun. Okay, I'm gonna show your AuraPic again in one moment, but I just have to share with everybody just a little bit of your Glamazonia, just for the children, so that everyone can get just a little look. This one, which was shot by Drew Barrymore, wasn't it?
That's correct.
Droopsy, there's some Droopsy. And then I also have just this other little one. I mean, Nico was in Twin Peaks, which was very cool, as Daria, so major. Let's see. Oh no, that one's too small, but I'll show you this one. This was her too. Hold on. Okay, there she is. Yes, Daria. So cool. But I was gonna say to you that just the two things. One was that that idea of just let it go. Nico has an amazing voice, is a multi-instrumentalist, and actually invited me to my first plant medicine ceremony with ayahuasca. And it was at the end of that ceremony, which with all of that purging for me, very much felt like getting rid of feelings or perceptions or ideas or beliefs that maybe are not valid or not useful anymore. And then I had this great experience. And then at the end of the night, everybody's done, everything's over. And all these fucking nasty voices came into my head. And it was like, wee, 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 wee. And I went and asked the guy leading the session, I was like, what do I do about these voices? And he said, it's a really smart thing to me. He was like, well, some voices, you just don't listen to. Just don't listen to those voices. But I think what's beautiful about what you're describing, and the reason why I wanted to show everybody Daria was because we did some acting work a while ago that was based on like a rebellion against the actor studio. Even though both of us have worked with the actor studio throughout our careers, we both rebelled against the actor studio doing this very mystical acting process, which began with a practice that's like neti neti, but that's called disidentification, where you list all the things that you're not. And you say, I'm not my body, I'm not my mind, I'm not my emotions, I'm not whether or not I get this job, I'm not the one whose headshot is on the wall. And you just rattle off this list of all these things that you're not. And yet at the end of the day, you know, something's there. Nico would say nothing's there. That's the ultimate joy. But if that's done, something. What'd you say?
I said nothing something.
Nothing something.
Nothing something. Nothing something, and even that you can't have.
Even that you can't have. No, ma'am. Because, well, and this
you
is
don't get anything.
But this is what's so beautiful about the work that you're talking about the work that you're doing with Nico Sutra, is that, P.S., just so that everybody knows too, sutra means stitch, right? Like stitch, right? One of the meanings of it. It
has many meanings. One is to sew or to,
to sew or to stitch. Sutra is also a teaching, right? Or an offering of wisdom. And Nico is a person who's taught me so much to always remember that none of this fucking wisdom is mine. All of this wisdom was offered to me. And once I'm offering it to you, it's being offered through me. I don't know any of this. This is not my stuff. So Nico offers these sutras, but she also helps you to disentangle stitched up shit that has been sutured into place in ways that maybe like don't let you lift your right arm, you know? And then the other thing that you do is you help people to re-sutra themselves back together with, after you do have this sort of releasing process, you know, because I agree with you that it's not real, but it can be very hard to convince someone that what they're going through, that they don't need to hold on to it, because people become so identified with their pain or with their trauma or with whatever it is. So then when you lose, this is what it felt like to me when I was, riddled with eating disorders in my teen years. When I finally got to the place where I was like, I don't want to fucking barf anymore. I got really depressed because it was like a piece of me was dying that was ultimately keeping me trapped, but it almost gave me this kind of weird separation anxiety. So people can be really clingy to these behaviors, like you said, even if they're toxic, because they're so comforting. So I just really, really respect the work that you do. And I strongly encourage people to take advantage of it, to work in these modalities, because it helps to be able to put things down with someone else's help. But then once you experience your load that's that much lighter, you're just like, wow, I could do this. I could do this. Like I could find my way back here if I feel like I've lost my way from here. Like it's just very empowering. It's not,
yes.
Okay. So I'm going to share your AuraPic with you. Sorry, okay. So the AuraPics project evolved because I was working with people all the time and spending really like hour-long sessions with people. And I wanted to be able to work with people in non-traditional settings. So like in stores or on the street or in Grand Central Station or who cares where. So I tried to devise a format that was about 10 minutes long, or no longer than 10 minutes unless it had to be. And basically I'm clairsentient primarily, is my most kind of comfortable intuitive gift, clairsentience, which is clear feeling, and clairaudience, clear hearing. And so I don't technically see these images. I didn't see auras in the beginning of my work. I ended up using this to give a color to what I was feeling or sensing. And it became much more tactile because I'm using my hands. So I can actually now I'm fine. I can give you a clairvoyant reading, no problem. But when I first started doing this, I didn't identify as comfortably clairvoyant as I am. I knew I was clairsentient. So I was like, let me give a visualization of what I'm feeling and sensing. And now it's really fun because I can just be like, well, this means this, and this means this, and this means this, and this means this. And I'm like, this is the AuraPics, it's fun. And then the client's like, oh, because it induces a kind of release, because at the end of the day too, what we would do in the beginning was we would do a picture before and a picture after, so that, and I would post them all on Instagram so that people could scroll through. That's still up there, AuraPics project, so that you could see, does someone's face or visage change once their aura has been contacted? And so I was almost doing it as like a double blind study to be like, I'm not trying to tell you the aura is real, but if you start weeping in the middle of this thing while I'm supposedly reading your aura, fine, that's fine. Still not trying to prove anything. And if other people looking at your face can tell that you look like mean and calcified in the first picture, but then after your aura was read, you look like tranquilized and emotive and all this stuff. At the end of the day, I'm not a great photographer. Like I said, I'm not actually a visual person. So people were complaining about their photos and they didn't want them to be on Instagram. They wanted me to take them down. So basically now this is what I do. I do a private session or a private session with someone. I'm only working in AuraPics. So people have to send me their photo and then I do what I'm about to do for you here. We're going to have to breeze through it because we're coming towards the end, but it's actually not that complicated. Pink is the color of guides and ancestors. There's pink, that was the first thing that showed up in your reading. That's this pink that's all around the sort of edge here, right? I'm gonna undo that.
It's so pretty.
It's really pretty, and you got really pretty colors. You have highly vibrational colors. So pink is the color of the ancestors and the guides, but it's also the color of our dharma and service in this world and in this life. What's very cool is that there's pink along your pelvic bowl, along your thighs right above the knees, along the shins and calves right below the knees, except maybe not, like you have very long legs. And then on the very bottom, it's on your feet, but it's really hitting you on or about each of these joint places. What this tells me that your guides, spirits, and ancestors, all of the energies and entities in spirit, have a plan for you to take a series of 4 decisive steps, is what it looks like here, to move your path forward in order for the rest of this pink that's over here, right, to kind of coalesce and come in. And it's like the pink is nudging your aura in this direction of forward motion. And it's very much about your dharma. It's very much about continue doing whatever the fuck you're doing, because there's like boom, 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 like 4 downbeats that are being orchestrated and facilitated for you. So I would say, keep doing what you're doing. Keep a little eye towards those downbeats, but also, Day of the Dead, great time on November 1st to honor the ancestors, but we can build ancestral altars or altars to our spirits, our teachers. I know you have altar spaces all over your house. The theory would be here is to make offerings if you need guidance as to what to do next or where to go next. Basically, this just tells me that there is a consciousness or group of consciousnesses on the other side that are facilitating an unfoldment of your purpose now. So I love that. We can talk more about that later. Meanwhile, the next thing that came out was this glorious purple coming from the throat and right from the Punani chakra, right from the first, second chakra area. And those 2 colors, the purple here in this practice, in the AuraPics practice, has to do with all-encompassing change, right? Total change, unrecognizable change. And what I love about this with you is usually they radiate a little bit, they vibrate a little bit. Yours are coming out in ribbons.
I love these ribbons.
They're so yummy, right?
I love the ribbons.
I would read the throat one as akin to like the Aboriginal dream time idea that you are calling your creation into existence. You're singing your dream into existence. So I would just say, we talked about this in the very beginning of the reading too. It's like, in the very beginning of the show, on the 12th of November, Jupiter is conjunct Pluto. That would be a great day for you to sing praise, for you to sing a lot of praise, because you really, if this is the way you want your body to be going, and I know you're like, I'm not going to fucking ask my guides what's happening next, Michael. Like, it's fine. You know, I trust it'll be fine. Great. If you trust it that much, then sing your praises, then sing praise, because you'll be carried forth. It's like, that's why mantras are so sacred. Mantras are so sacred, where it's like, if you are singing a true prayer into the world, then you don't need to wish for anything else for yourself other than that. Fuck. On a mountain in Bosnia in 2017, I heard a voice say, pray for peace. Pray for peace. That's the only prayer you need. Just pray for peace. Just pray for peace. Yeah. It's like, why you got to ask for anything else? Just pray for peace. So that's what I'm saying. It's like, I feel like there's all sorts of prayers flying out of you right now. But then we come down to the second chakra one, which just tells us that your basic circumstances and what you want to create are also in a period of dramatic structural change, right? So I think in this case, it's like, honor the fact that your tailbone and your uterus, right, energetically, are having their way with you. They want you within the circumstances that you're in, and they too are singing a song of creation out into the world. So what I like about both of these things, this is very you, is listen to your fucking prayers, listen to what you will to create, listen to your creature comforts, what feels good in your bones, what feels good in your pussy. Like, listen to all of those things, because those are your kind of moment-to-moment GPSs guiding you towards the next great act of service. Right? At the end of the day, that's all I tune into my guides for, is I'm not asking what's going to happen in my life. I'm going, how can I be ready to serve? Or is this bitch that is talking to me about collaborating on something, is this part of my path? Or do I not fuck with this and do I just keep moving? You know, like that's, because that's all I care about is serving. Okay. The blue is fascinating in this case, because each of these navy indigo blues are connected to wisdom teachings. Okay. I love how there's a symmetry of the 4 lines of blue above the 4 lines of pink. My sense is that it's so funny because it's totally coming off your crown too. When you look at the ones that are up here, right? That's so funny. So it's like, these teachings are coming into you so that they can come out of you. Okay. So it's this beautiful idea that, like, when you really think of incredible world teachers or even ascended masters, right? Sure, they know about many, 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 many things. But, you know, Brene Brown teaches on empathy and compassion and, you know, thinking about the other person, right? And like Kuan Yin teaches compassion, and, you know, Ganesha teaches one thing, whereas, you know, Saraswati teaches another thing, right? That you can sort of boil it down to these archetypal seed kind of teachings. So blue in the AuraPics practice is not about learning through conflict and collision. It's about learning through theory and dreaming and imagining and meditating and downloading. It's theoretical learning. So all I would say here is pay attention to your teachers, honor your teachers, listen to your voice, listen to your pussy, listen to what you're singing into creation. And then also listen for the downbeats that are coming to you. Boom, 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 boom. It feels like these downbeats are going to take a minute, so don't expect them all to come in rapid succession. But then begin to ask yourself, what are the teachings that I'm the most amped and jazzed about? What are the teachings of my teachers that are the most in alignment with me and with my personality and with my path and with where I'm at today? And do your best to distill them down to the littlest nuggets of seeds that I almost feel like you want to plant the 4 teachings or these 4 wisdoms, you know, 4, they might be 4 noble truths, just saying, where you just, but either way, you want to take a seed and plant it on each of these little rungs of the pink, and just sort of imagine yourself with a little seed bag of, I actually don't have to teach about the 22 letters of the alphabet. I just am teaching A, B, C, and D. And I'm a student of this teaching, and I'm sharing the threads of this teaching. So I feel like this is an integration process where you get to bring the teachings into yourself and allow them to give you some traction on these next guided steps of your path. But at the same time, like, look at what you fucking created around you, because even though the universe has delivered you to this space, your voice is what's calling your existence into your awareness. If you didn't sing it up, you wouldn't experience it. So, good job. Yes, that's what I wanted. That's your AuraPic, my love.
Wow, amazing, amazing.
So I will send this to you tomorrow, and you'll be able to watch it after the fact. Okay, so I have, let's see, we're at 9 o'clock. I want
Thank you so much for that, teacher, that aura.
You're so very welcome. We have one person in the waiting room that I'm going to bring in just because it's a friend and I want to say hi to them. They're Chisnillin. Hi, buddy.
Hi.
So good to see you.
I'm laying on my couch. I would sit up, but I am so fucking sore from yesterday.
Don't get up. Stay where you are.
Dancing, jumping, yelling, screaming, hugging, all of the things.
I don't think you guys have met, but have you met? Did you meet in LA?
I don't think so.
No, I don't think so either. Hi.
Hi.
Nice to meet you.
Nice to meet you too.
Nico's the source of everything good in my life. Okay. So,
Mikey is the same to me.
Oh.
Yes.
Likewise. Likewise.
So, I'm pulling a card for you, Flax, off of my new favorite deck, which is the Sacred Symbols Oracle deck. Marcella Kroll, the amazing one, sent me a second edition with their hand-painted images in it. And I pulled one card for you. What is Flax? Well, I'm pulling a second one. And what do you do with that? Okay.
Oh, boy.
Spirits.
Yep. Yep. Yeah.
They're all over. I honestly just think that I'm going to ride off of the coattails of what the reading we just gave to Nico, and just to tell you to remember that your spirits are, at this point, are here, yes, to make sure you feel good in your bones and make sure you feel good in your body, but they're here to guide you to your next great work. They're here to guide you to your next act of selflessness, of service, of sharing the light, of spreading the truth, of speaking the truth. They're here to give you your thumb's energy when you need to write something fierce. You know, and to also calibrate and make sure to tell you, not put that down, girl. You don't need to do this right now.
Don't get angry. Yeah.
But then there's one other one where I just wanted to say, but I don't actually know what this one means. So this is Thunderbird Tracks. That's what I thought. Okay. Thunderbird Tracks is your other card. All signs point to yes, onward and upward. Meditate on this symbol when you want to see all the good in your life and the world around you.
Okay. All right. Fantastic.
Do you have any questions for Nico or anything you want to ask now that you're on here and with us today?
Well, I mean, when I tuned in and Nico, you started talking about somatic therapy, and that's something Mikey knows I've been just really getting into so much, and I haven't gone to anyone about it yet. So I've just been reading about it and practicing it on myself and trying to be gentle in my own healing process. I want to ask you a question, but it's too personal for this. So okay. I think I'm just looking for, I'm trying to bring joy to healing and being back in my body. I mean, I spent most of my life not in my body and having crippling anxiety and this and that. But now I'm in my body and I'm trying to learn it these past few years. And I guess, like most women, I'm just trying to release the, forms of sexual trauma. And I guess I'm just going to leave it open like that. If you have anything you'd like to add to the healing process, or techniques, or anything I need to do regularly.
Oh, well, there's a wonderful, very simple exercise for working with the vagus nerve and balancing the vagus nerve. which I can show you now. I mean, in regard to specifically sexual trauma, I mean, that's really kind of, you know, we want to get inside of the event, the situation, and start to unwind that and start releasing the energy that's trapped there, that has the belief about self all bundled into it. Yeah. Right. Mm-hmm. So, you know, that is an unwinding process. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. But in terms of balancing the vagus, what's that?
No, I was going to say, what's the vagus balancing technique? Yeah.
Yeah, the vagus balancing, you take your hands like this and you put them behind your head. Okay. And you keep your head straight, and only with your eyeballs you look at one elbow. Huh. And you hang out with that elbow, just the eyes, until you get a full breath, a yawn, a sigh, a swallow, until you feel complete. Okay. And then you do it just to the other side. I love this. And you will notice a shift immediately. Just like a little layer home. Okay. And we also we work with the uvula, the little in the back of the throat, and we can see if it's pulled one way or the other. We can see which side of the vagus nerve is tighter, right? It's so interesting because when you were talking about the side of the neck, I was just like, oh, this side of my neck is just fucked right now. And right. And so they say right side is dad, left side is mom. Okay. You know, and yeah, it will start, you can start releasing that. You can do that exercise, many different times. And in a session that's not COVID, I hold points where the vagus nerve comes out of the base of the skull. And by holding these points, we can go very, very deep into unconscious memory. Okay.
I want to tell everybody, Nico does all their sessions digitally still, but it is possible to do this work together digitally. Great.
I've actually been reading a lot about the vagus nerve and understanding my difference between fight or flight, or if I dissociate, or if I act up. So it's interesting to kind of try to balance that with the daily exercise.
Yeah. This exercise you'll start to notice, and you can kind of do it throughout the day. There's a lot of different exercises that we teach with this work. Okay. Different ways to release the vagus by just kind of slowly twisting the skin, going against where it's tight.
I'm obsessed with that one. I'm obsessed with that practice because whenever I rub my head or whatever, I always want it to be like the most forceful and intense that I can possibly do it. And the first time you guided me into this, you were just like, no, just.
That's like, yeah.
The nervous system likes very gentle.
Wow.
You have in your face, you have a nerve called the trigeminal nerve, and it's here. And so often, even if you just, when you're laying down, just let your fingertips just brush along that nerve. If you do that like on yourself for 5 minutes, your nervous system will regulate a little bit.
Wow. Awesome. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Yay, I'm glad we did that. Thanks for coming in, buddy.
Love you.
Say goodnight. Love you, Flaxy.
Love you.
Okay. Well, my dear, I could stay on here with you forever, but we're going to wrap it up for the evening.
All right.
Thank you for being here. The last thing that we do on the show is our final segment, which we call Yumminess. And where we just want to know, is there anything that you'd like to share from this earthly plane that just makes you feel divine in this moment or this time these days?
There's so many things just went through my went through my brain. Just flashed through. And then I was drawn to two things on my table. One is a candle that smells like, it's like a balsam fir.
Oh, I love.
It's like Christmas,
But
know.
it's not Christmas like cinnamon sugar.
No.
It's like Christmas like the tree,
No.
the true pine.
Like tree. It's like, yeah, true. Yes. So I have that, and then I have this earthly thing, which is a Tibetan prayer wheel, and it has inside of it is a written 1,000 times Om Mani Padme Hum, right?
Wow.
And you can spin it, and it sends off. Yeah. So you spin for everyone in the world, including yourself. Yeah.
That's just.
So those are things, just trees and sea and ocean and mist.
Really
all
good.
of it. We just moved, so the trees.
Yeah, there they are. I want to point out to everyone behind me that on the screen today is a really delicious rose pistachio Indian sweet that Nicole introduced me to many years ago called gulab jamun.
So good.
So good. They're basically just like sugary milk balls, right?
Yeah, it's like milk boiled down into like this paste, and then you boil it down, it gets like, you make it into these balls, and then you soak it in like a rose water syrup.
Oh, come on.
And you fry them. Yeah, you fry them, and then you soak them in
And
rose
then
water.
you soak them. There's a Greek version of them that's called viples. That's like honey fried. They're like basically like wet donuts, but milk donuts. Okay. I'm going to share one thing, which is, we also recently moved and found an orchard nearby from whence we picked apples and got some pears. And I've been getting into, like so many in quarantine, blessed and privileged to be baking. So I did a little live today where I was just showing people how I was making this galette. So I made an apple pear galette that is basically pears and apples cut into little chunks, and then it's thickened with tapioca starch, and it's just a store-bought pie crust that I rolled out really thin and then folded over. But on the bottom was the clincher. Remember back in the day when we would go to Pan Quotidien, and they had that praline stuff on the table? We would just get like baguettes and slather it and that shit. Well, basically, if you get almond butter and you put a little brown sugar in it, a good amount of brown sugar, because it's got to be a little crunchy, healthy pinch of salt, and then you could either mix it with an egg, but what I actually used was my tea fine butterscotch pudding filling, and I used about a quarter packet of it because it has like a starch in it that thickens and makes pudding. So I used about a quarter packet of it, sprinkled it in with the almond butter, salt, and brown sugar, and then made like a thick paste and spread that all along the bottom of this galette. So it exploded, but our mutual friend Brianna, who's a brilliant baker, told me, don't worry, open-faced galettes like that always explode. It's fine. And yeah, I mean, it was pretty transcendental. We ate it at lunch today, and everybody was just and eyeing. And that's kind of the vibe here at Edible Spirit is we tend to fuck with most foods until they make us have out-of-body experiences because we're so deeply embodied from eating these delicious things.
I love that.
Well, thank you for bringing me into my body, and thank you for lifting me up and out, and thank you for sharing this moment today. Thank you for being on the show. I hope everybody works.
Thank you for having me.
My honor and pleasure. So everybody, find Nico at nicosutra.com. She's at Nico LaLiberté on Instagram. All of the links to her stuff will be on in our Instagram bio at Edible Spirit. What else can we share? Yeah, Nico's doing sessions. She's available for digital sessions. We are doing private AuraPics as well as private group readings. As well as group readings and group AuraPics. And tune in to the next installment of the Edible Spirit Hour next Sunday night, 8 p.m. Eastern, for more healers, healing, deliciousness. That's it. That's what we got. Thanks for being here, baby.
Okay, love you.
You are so beloved. We're just gonna play ourselves out now. Let's see. We're gonna just say good night to everyone. Thank you, everybody. See you.